What's up, everyone? It's Scotty with MoneyVest. So very strong reversal and a rally for the market with the NASDAQ up a little bit over 1.3% on the day, with the S&P 500 also rallying very nicely up over 80 basis points, and the Dow Jones more or less flat but still up a little bit over 17 to 18 basis points on the day. As always, if you enjoyed this video, find it helpful, make sure that you drop a like. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and of course, link to our Discord and Patreon is going to be down below if you're interested in joining. And of course, getting access to all the members only private videos. There's over 40 plus private videos and trade idea videos that I will be sharing, and there's already videos, ad-free content that you can access. Excel spreadsheets with intrinsic value, so you'll have access to my full stock spreadsheet with the watch list and the intrinsic and the fair value of these companies. The S&P 500 valuation, of course, not to mention the volatility spreadsheet, and a lot of other interesting data that we are putting together in these spreadsheets as well. And finally, you get access to over 20 plus Discord channels. You can engage with over thousands of members worldwide and get access to all my alerts, including trade alerts from the US, from India. The India portfolio is actually doing really well as well. I will be doing a private video for members only later today, going over my portfolio in India, which is up very, very nicely, close to 25%. So we'll be going over that as well. INDA, as a result, is also doing really well. But you can get access to all the trade ideas, trade alerts, everything's going to be included. And also do check out the courses, fundamentals, technicals, options, psychology. Everything is going to be linked down below. And also do connect with me on Instagram. My handle is going to be CASWRP, and I'd love to have you on board over there as well. I do post a lot of interesting stories and posts and videos and polls and tips over there as well. So, number one catalyst for the day. I did a video on this. AMD stock is a top performer in the S&P 500. Here's what Wall Street thinks of its new chips, AI chips. And as we know, that AMD rallied at one point over 10% on the back of Lisa Su's comments and the new launch of the MI300, which OpenAI, Microsoft, and Meta have all pledged that they are going to be using AMD's AI chips for generative AI as an alternative to NVIDIA. I did a couple videos about this 1 month ago, 3 months ago, and how AMD is still getting started and is still not being appreciated for what it could bring to the table with respect to artificial intelligence. Well, folks, the time has already come. It is moving, it is popping, it is rocketing higher to over $126, $127. I did send out alerts for when I was buying AMD. I didn't buy a lot. I mean, I was restarting a position in AMD. I've actually traded this stock before, and I did a video on how I'm buying this one again and to start a new position. And right now, I think my position's up a little bit over 20%. So all those alerts will also be included with the link down below on our Discord and our Patreon. Now, Fundstrat's lead reveals highest S&P 500 forecast on Wall Street. So as we know, Tom Lee from Fundstrat is one of the most bullish analyst out there, and he sees the U.S. economy also probably avoiding a recession in 2024. As we move into 2024, investor skepticism has diminished, but investors are generally wary, and we are overall positive on equities, but we believe much of the gains will come in the second half of 2024. Now, I do somewhat agree with this analysis, and if I were to make a prediction, even though I'm not one for making predictions, if I were to actually forecast what 2024 might look like, the way I see it moving forward over the next 6 to 8 weeks is basically the markets seeing that December seasonality as a positive catalyst to maybe run a little bit higher. As we have seen today, I mean, markets rebounding very nicely. We're coming up to that resistance, which we'll talk about in the technicals. But the bottom line is markets seeing that December seasonality as another catalyst to move higher a little bit more. Maybe we see another 2 to 3% upside, 4 to 5% upside from these levels, which is going to be pretty big considering how much up we already are on the year. But going into 2024, I wouldn't be surprised considering the technical overextended overbought levels and the unfavorable risk-reward ratios on the long side. And of course, when you consider when the volatility is low, yields are dropping, which is definitely helping the overall equities. But given how low the volatility is, and we've got the Fed meeting in the next couple of weeks, inflation numbers coming out next week, so there's a lot of other macroeconomic data that's scheduled, which could result in the markets to maybe pull back a little bit and then, of course, recover back up towards the second half of 2024. Now, Google also pushing up 5% on the company's announcement of Gemini AI model. And Gemini AI model is going to compete with products related to OpenAI, Microsoft, and Meta. And of course, the stock price is on pace for its best day since August 29th, which being up over 5% on the day. And Wells Fargo Trading Desk also said the big question is what Google's monetization for Gemini looks like in short, I'd summarize Google as proving that they still have some bite in the game as well. And of course, we are seeing a lot of momentum for Google, for Nvidia, for AMD, Amazon, Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, Apple. So it was tech absolutely going crazy. It was tech coming back in with a bang, with a lot of momentum, as we have seen a little bit of rotation out of technology and comm services in the last couple days and few weeks. So you'll notice that over the last 1 week though, energy is still the biggest underperformer, down over 4% as crude oil prices continue to sell off. And over the last 1 month, we've also seen energy being the only sector that is down. 10 out of the 11 sectors, the other ones are very, very nicely up over the last 1 month. We've talked about the trouble trifecta, right? We've talked about the three things that are really causing the markets to be under a lot of pressure, or at least were causing for the markets to be under pressure. They're all rolling over now. This is going to be the dollar index. From October, it is down a little bit over 4.6, close to 5%. If you take a look at US oil prices, crude oil prices, once again, since September, you'll notice that prices are down 26%. Very, very good. And finally, if you take a look at the 10-year yields, they're also down from October. They are selling off a little bit over 17-18%. So these three things that we have talked about, this is the trouble trifecta. If these three things continue to roll over and come down, that creates a very nice environment for equities, for growth, for tech. Okay? But of course, when we saw these three things going higher, we know what happened. The markets pulled back from July all the way through October. We were in a correction. We were down 10-12% on the S&P and the NASDAQ as well. So it really is a understanding of these macro indicators that are making the markets be more risk on versus risk off. And of course, crypto is rallying, small caps are rallying. We've got biotech that's also pushing higher. So I did a video on 5 to 6 sectors or areas in the market to look at for when the yields are dropping and they continue to drop further. Now, orange juice for the win, up a little bit over 2.7%. Coffee prices, cocoa, we got crude oil, we got gasoline, heating oil, all pushing higher with the oats and lean hogs selling off. Bitcoin just a little bit over 43,000. Ether pushing up to almost 2,400 as well. Lots of my positions are in the black, meaning in the green. ASML has done really well for me. It's back up to almost $700. It has rallied quite a bit from its lows of back in 562, up over 24-25%. Not to mention, of course, SMH. We got BUG, we got Realty Income Corp, we got TMF, we got Tesla. We got a lot of other stocks that are doing really well. So again, if you want to get access to find out exactly what I'm buying and selling, when I'm buying it, what type of options I'm selling, I'm actually going to be starting to sell more options now, considering the markets are a little bit more overbought, overextended. We're seeing very nice green days. So I think selling calls is the way to go, in my opinion, for me in this market environment. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing over the next day and going into next week as well. So again, link's going to be down below if you want to join, of course, be a part of our Money Invest community and get all those alerts sent to you directly on your phone. Volatility here, once again, a little bit more muted, a little bit over 13, just over 85 basis points green, but it is low. That's exactly one of the reasons why I'm planning on selling some calls here, because if the VIX does end up spiking, let's say, to over 15, 16, to even as much as 18, 20 levels, well, that's going to obviously create that negative correlation with the negative sort of market starting to come down, and as a result, can print those hedging calls in my favor in the future if the markets do drop and volatility does indeed spike. Going over to Ether, very nice move to the upside, up to 2381. So it's starting to see a little bit of a breakout above this resistance level. And Bitcoin here also continues to charge higher. And the next target and resistance is going to be $48,000 to $51,000 for Bitcoin. Of course, that's the previous resistance where it has gotten rejected in the past. Crude oil prices continue to drop further, so break down below this support. So this right here is the green rectangle that we've been watching as an area of support. And right now, of course, we're starting to see a little bit of a breakdown. Next support is going to be $66. So this right here is going to be that level to watch with a resistance staying all the way up here, which will now go ahead and turn into a resistance at close to $70, $73, $74 per barrel for crude. Support level, like I said, it's 66. Going over to the yields, and yields continue to be under a lot of pressure. We've got longer end of the curve, more specifically, continues to fall as the 1 year and 6 month and 3 month continues to kind of stay a little bit more elevated, which is again inverting the yield curve even further. We are negative 112 basis points for the 10 versus 6-month treasuries, and the spread between 10 and 2 is still negative 44 basis points. Just continues to show that the demand for the longer end of the curve is now starting to be more than the short end of the curve, because investors, capital allocators, and the like want to invest their money in fixed income that can mature and be locked in for 10 years versus 6 month or 2 years. So for that reason, we're definitely seeing yields roll over a little bit as the demand comes in, because there's an inverse correlation between price and yields. And right now it's basically flat, but the 6 months sitting at 5.36.5% at the moment. Now going over to S&P 500 here. So this is going to be the SPX, and once again, the resistance is still at 4,600. We haven't cracked above that resistance yet. And really what we are witnessing is a lot of days of back and forth momentum, green, red, green, red, green, red. It's just been going sideways, and support level is going to stay put at 4,500. So this right here is going to be that level with a resistance at 4,600 for the S&P, all the way down to 4,375 to as low as 4,400 for S&P as well, all the way down to 4,175. So those right there are going to be a few levels to watch on the S&P 500. Of course, we got the RSI and the MACD continues to kind of hang up there at an elevated level, an overbought level. So those are some things to obviously keep in mind and watch out for S&P 500 moving forward. Talking about the NASDAQ, and NASDAQ here also just consolidating sideways. It's just been red, green, just lots of back and forth here in the last several days, and resistance is going to be at 14,400. We haven't cracked above that resistance yet. A lot of the momentum today was driven on the back of AMD and Google. Again, artificial intelligence sort of booming and taking over that narrative again. Support level is going to stay put at 13,871. So this right here is going to be that level. We've got a little bit of a gap to also fill with the RSI MACD once again going sideways at the moment. Talking a little bit about Apple, and Apple here on the day up another 1%, hitting a high of 195 on the dot, just over a $3 trillion market cap, and resistance all the way up to as much as 196, 197 for Apple. So this right here is going to be that level to watch, with a support level sitting roughly under $190 per share, and of course a very nice bull flag breakout for Apple as well. For S&P 500, we had a question about a potential bull flag, which I guess I don't necessarily see it, because on the weekly time frame there needs to be more weeks until we see a little bit more consolidation, until it kind of basically forms a flag type of formation. But on the daily chart, maybe I guess you could argue to some extent that we're going sideways like this, where we're seeing a lot of consolidation. So maybe there's a case to be made that this right here is the pull and a lot of consolidation, and then a potential breakout above 4,600 can send us to 4,800 and the all-time high for S&P. But right now there needs to be more consolidation and more range-bound trading action in order for us to fully validate that, okay, this is indeed a bull flag and that there's a potential breakout incoming in the future. Talking about Amazon, and Amazon also consolidating sideways. So we can see that it's got a very strong resistance at these levels, right? This is a very strong area of resistance for Amazon, and we continue to kind of trade sideways in that range, and support level is going to be inside this sort of green rectangle for us to watch, all the way down to 121 for Amazon as well. So this right here is a lot of consolidation, a lot of range-bound trading and price action for Amazon. Resistance once again is going to stay put at 147, 148. Talking about Tesla, and Tesla here also consolidating sideways. So this right here is the lower highs and the lower lows. We've talked about this pattern before, and Tesla continues to be a little bit more weak, but also consolidating sideways in that range. So you can see how much Tesla is traded in between those levels. It's not able to break above 250, right? It's not able to break above 260s, and there's a lot of supply and a lot of resistance also sitting in the 300s for Tesla. So those right there are going to be some levels to watch for the company, and of course support level is going to be inside this green rectangle between low 200s and $210, $212 per share. Talking a little bit about PayPal, and PayPal here on the day pushing down slightly, 1.7%, still continues to be in this uptrend of higher highs and higher lows. So that's really where we are, and support level is going to stay put at roughly around $56 to $57, with a resistance all the way up to $65 per share for PayPal. Talking about Visa, and Visa continues to kind of hang up there at a very strong all-time high. Support level is going to stay put down to 250 to as low as $245 per share. And of course, we're seeing the RSI and the MACD be a little bit more on the overbought side, continues to stay a little bit more elevated. And of course, price action on the day is pretty muted, up over 60 basis points, so not a lot of movement in either direction. NVIDIA here on the day pushing up very nicely, getting a bit of a bounce after the intraday sell-off from yesterday, up over 2.4%, with the RSI MACD continues to show some signs of more potential weakness, but it has come down from those overbought levels. So NVIDIA is indeed down a little bit over 11% from its all-time highs. But of course, this momentum is coming on the back of AMD. It's kind of lifting the overall semiconductor market. And we've got a very strong support for NVIDIA sitting in the low 400s right now. And there's just been a lot of consolidation sideways in that range. Talking about advanced micro devices and AMD here with a massive move to the upside. A very, very nice move to $120. We've done a video on this earlier, so up almost 10%. Next resistance and target is going to be $130, $131. So this right here is going to be that level to watch, with a support roughly sitting at about $112 per share for one of the companies. So we're seeing a very nice breakout to the upside. We're going to have to wait and see how this ends up playing out, but RSI MACD is certainly a bit more on the overextended side moving forward. Talking about Meta platforms, and Meta here also getting a little bit of a bounce from that support. So we talked about this green area, rectangle support where Meta is, and validating that support in 315s, 320s. And of course, we're seeing a very nice momentum back up, almost 3% in the green. Next resistance and target is going to be $352 per share, with this support right here at close to this higher low, roughly at around 300, low 300s for Meta as well, all the way down to as low as $275. That's again going to be a much stronger area of support and demand to watch for Meta, but a stronger resistance all the way up to $352 per share. Talking about Netflix, and Netflix here also starting to roll over, coming down with the RSI and the MACD. So definitely it's been one of the trade ideas on the short side that I've talked about for Netflix for a very long time over the last several market updates. And of course, this right here is going to be the support that it's right now validating. If we do end up breaking down below this, the next support really is going to be all the way down to $395, close to $400 per share for Netflix moving forward. Talking about Google, massive move coming up to that resistance once again. So we'll see how it trades up at $139, $140, $144. But this right here is really going to be that red sort of rectangle, that area of resistance and that supply for Google. And support level is going to stay put at roughly around $127, $126 per share for Google. And last but not least, we got Microsoft, and Microsoft here just really consolidating sideways, validating that support at around 366. RSI MACD, as we already know, showing signs of some weakness. It's been coming down, so it's gonna be from a risk reward standpoint a little bit more on the unfavorable side, as I've already mentioned. Valuation is a little bit more elevated as well, but of course the company in itself is absolutely fantastic, no doubt about it. But support level is going to stay put at 366, all the way down to 340 to as low as $310 per share. And finally, we got Costco over here, pushing higher very nicely, very, very overbought, new all-time high at $612. And again, you've got the MACD and the RSI very, very overextended right now as well. They've got earnings coming up very, very soon. And finally, we got Enphase, which is basically consolidating sideways at that resistance at close to $107, $108. RSI is a bit more overbought, and the MACD is also overextended, considering the stock's rallied over 40 to 50%. So hope you all enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below for what you think about the market. And definitely do check out the links down below if you want to join, be a part of our MoneyVest community. Definitely connect with me on Instagram as well. My handle is going to be CASWRP. And again, all the courses, lifetime access, 130 plus videos, 30 to 40 plus hours of content, fundamentals, technicals, options, and psychology. Link's going to be down below. And definitely do check out the Patreon and the Discord if you want to get access to all the alerts and find out exactly what I'm buying and selling as well. So as always, happy investing, and I'll see you all in the next video.